What is up, guys? My name is STIX, and if you don't already, follow me over on Twitter at ByteStix to stay updated with the latest MMO related news. So a lot of people, myself included, are guilty of listing or claiming rather that specific MMORPGs are going to be releasing in 2018. I'm not going to say that the MMORPG genre is dying, because it's not. Not with games like The Elder Scrolls Online, Guild Wars 2, Final Fantasy XIV, Black Desert Online, and World of Warcraft remaining as popular as they are. The genre is just growing, I guess, stale. With so little variety, for those of you that aren't really into any of the aforementioned games, you're left wondering exactly what there is left to look forward to. And I get that. In 2017, we had a handful of MMORPGs release. Revelation Online, Mu Legend, and Albion Online. Revelation Online was dead before the first month of the launch had passed. Mu Legend just didn't really appeal to all that many people, and Albion Online spent too long in its testing phase that when it finally launched, people had just lost interest. We're already halfway through the year, and as such, have had countless games released thus far. Allow me to quickly cover those before getting on to what we have left to actually look forward to. Released February 6, 2018, Closers is an instanced anime-inspired action brawler MMORPG reminiscent of Dungeon Fighter Online, published by NMAS Entertainment, the people behind Terra. Although the game never really took off, having an all-time peak of 2,000 concurrent players and averaging 700 players playing at any given time, the game remains actively updated and worked on. As the description implied, the game is completely instanced. You have a quest hub that you share with a large group of players, you then party together and run instances. I've been a fan of Closers for well over a year now, playing pretty much exclusively on private servers where the population is higher and things are made much more readily available to players without paying. But, you know, that's just me. Released shortly after Closers on February 26, 2018, Soul Worker Online is once again an instanced anime-inspired action brawler MMORPG like Vindictus or Critica Online, as opposed to something like Closers or Dungeon Fighter Online, published by Gameforge, the team behind some of the worst pay-to-win garbage you will ever find online. Soul Worker Online was notably more anticipated than Closers, having a peak of almost 11,000 players concurrently at launch, and to this day is peaking at almost 2,500 players online at any given time. Unfortunately for players, Soul Worker is definitely not as actively worked on as Closers, nor is the game as well published. Soul Worker, like Closers, Critica, and the like, is another hub-based MMORPG where players take quests from a central hub, then proceed into dungeons to complete each mission. Gameforge upped the difficulty significantly, however, making it much more difficult to play for players that don't pay, creating a large focus on the cash shop, much to the dismay of the populace. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Soul Worker, and I was absolutely appalled when I saw that this is what the official release looked like. Thus, like Closers, I actually went on and moved onto a private server that wasn't repugnantly altered to increase purchases made in-game. I mean, personally, I believe that you probably shouldn't go and support a company like Gameforge that turns games like this into a game that revolves primarily around the cash shop. I mean, I'm all for supporting games and their publishers, as I've had an active subscription to Final Fantasy XIV and WoW for years now, but Gameforge is a joke. And not even a funny one. Released March 13th, 2018, Project Gorgon is an open-world tab target MMORPG from the people behind Asheron's Call and EverQuest 2, published by Elder Game. Project Gorgon is a very, very traditional MMORPG, and as such, it doesn't really have the appeal that games like Blade and Soul or Black Desert do to this generation of gamers. Thus, the game launched to a very mediocre 650 concurrent player launch, simmering down to around 300 people online at any given time as of this video. However, seeing the game drop down to an average of 200 players is still very disheartening, especially when the game receives such an overwhelmingly positive response from players. The game features a completely classless system void of levels. You're instead given the freedom to just be and do whatever you want. There are hundreds of skills to discover and learn, so you can craft your character in whatever way you want to. This adds depth to the genre that you don't normally see. But, and if I'm being completely honest here, I guess if this is the reception we see from games trying to stand out and be different, then it might just be better not to. Released March 27, 2018, Shroud of the Avatar is a traditional open-world MMORPG considered to be the spiritual successor to the Ultima series, published by Portalarium. Shroud of the Avatar, unlike both Closers and Soul Worker, which were met with mostly positive launches, was met with a fairly mixed response upon its launch. Unfortunately, the game is playable both through Steam and through the game's own official launcher, meaning that it's not actually possible to get an accurate gauge of its population currently. However, I can say for certain, when I played, there weren't really all that many people running around in game, and it definitely felt barren and abandoned. The game was Kickstarter funded and had a significant amount of hype surrounding it. You know, until they stopped listening to feedback from their supporters and ultimately sent the game into a downward spiral it has yet to recover from. Which is, you know, quite a shame, as the game held a lot of promise. What could have potentially been the next big thing, yet ended up conclusively being the next big flop. Bless Online was released on May 30, 2018. Bless is an open-world tab-target fantasy MMORPG published by NeoWiz. Now, there was always the prospect of the game failing, naturally. Every MMORPG, or even game for that matter, faces the odds of it doing poorly. However, Bless Online launched to almost 35,000 concurrent players online at the same time. This was significantly higher than they had anticipated. Had they handled the release better, they may not have had the negative reaction that they did. Regardless, less than a month after launching, the game is down to a mere 5,700 players playing simultaneously at any given time, with the population dropping seemingly almost daily. Bless is completely open world, taking pride in its open world PvP system and having a unique monster taming feature, allowing players to tame almost anything you see. Minus the people. Although, I don't know, there might be some people into that. I don't know. I'm not judging them. I had high hopes for Bless, but ultimately it ended up just being another Revelation Online, like many people suspected it would be. Now, my goal here isn't to spend a large amount of time covering the MMORPGs coming out after this point in the year. Instead, I'm just going to go over and cover them each rather quickly to give you a gist of what to expect. I do plan on doing impressions videos for each of these games as they come out, and hopefully progressing through them to a degree, but until then, Warlords Awakening is actually not a new title. Instead, it appears as though the game is just a relaunch of an older MMORPG, Elite Lords of Alliance. Yes, the game is expected to launch next month in July, and yes, I'm adding it as an MMORPG that is launching in 2018. But I want to be clear that although it's technically launching in July, I don't believe much has been done to justify an actual relaunch of the game. Other than the fact that the publisher has changed, there aren't really any updates or changes to the core of the game overall to warrant it relaunching under another name, and admittedly, I don't really see a reason why this won't do equally as bad as both attempts made prior. The game takes a kind of isometric approach with fast, fairly flashy action combat, and has a large open world players can group together to explore, participate in dungeons and raids with, and, you know, the norm. If you've ever played a game like Mu Legend or Diablo or Path of Exile, then you've played Warlords Awakening. We played Elite Lords of Alliance when it was still under that name, and although we found it admittedly highly entertaining, like Mu Legend, the game is destined for a similar fate as its predecessors. Do let me preface this by saying that the second closed beta for MapleStory 2 will actually be taking place on July 18, 2018. We have been handpicked to offer beta key giveaways and other goodies that will be done in a giveaway on the channel. So if you're interested in getting one, all you gotta do is be subscribed to our channel, leave a comment down in the comment section below stating that you want a key, and then head on over to our website via the link in the description and let us know that you want a key there too. It's that simple. People will be chosen randomly, so make sure to leave a comment in both areas to double your chances to get in. Now with that out of the way, MapleStory 2, much like MapleStory, is an anime-inspired MMORPG set in the same world, featuring some of the same characters, but adopting an entirely new graphical style. Instead of remaining a side-scrolling action MMO, the game now includes both side-scrolling and the ability to run around a three-dimensional world, adding new layers to the game. While keeping to its quirky, cutscene-heavy, fast-paced action roots, the game manages to somehow reinvigorate a somewhat stale genre by providing a game that is actually fun to play and could potentially hold a decent-sized population. You know, if Nexon doesn't ruin the game by making it pay-to-win, which is a definite possibility, but overall not a certainty. Like MapleStory, the game has instanced off zones similar to Blade and Soul, providing access to each zone through loading screens, helping, you know, keep things like lag under control. Now, a couple mentions here real quick on two games people were under the impression, myself included, were going to be coming out this year. I know a lot of people were highly anticipating Crowfall this year, but by the looks of things, it doesn't look like it's within the realm of possibility. The Crowfall team recently released a mid-year checkpoint blog in the middle of June, and in that blog post went on to mention that they're still in the process of making changes to the core system, and that as a result, I think it's clear that our soft launch is not going to happen by the end of this year, which is a little disappointing, but regardless, I am glad to see that they're still actively working on it. Although never slated for an actual release this year, I do want to just add on that the beta for Air will be happening at the end of this year. For those of you interested in trying the beta out, head on over to the official website and register for the beta now before it's too late. You can find the official website link on our website. This list was aimed specifically at PC MMORPGs, not console MMORPGs or mobile MMORPGs. The market right now has a, let's go ahead and call it an obsession, I guess at this point, with re-releasing MMORPGs on other devices, especially mobile. We have games like Mabinogi M, MapleStory M, Black Desert Online Mobile, Blade and Soul Mobile, and the list just goes on and on. While it seems as though mobile ports are now the way to go, and mobile MMORPGs are growing in popularity with every passing month, most of us are still deeply invested in PC MMORPGs. Therefore, mobile ports just don't affect nor interest us. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying they won't be successful. I'm not shaming them by saying they're inferior, especially when looking at Blade & Soul's mobile port or Terra's re-release on the consoles, both of which look amazing. And Black Desert, holy, that game looks better than most PC MMORPGs, and it's on a mobile device. So, while I'm very aware that those games amongst many others are releasing over the remainder of the year, I opted not to include them, or any others, preferring to make a separate list if you're all interested in that. To end this video, I would like to just point out that 2018 hasn't really been that great of a year for the genre. 2017 was pretty bad, and with the amount of games released thus far and the success or lack thereof each of them have had, well, if 2019, which I am henceforth titling the year of crowdfunding, fails to release anything noteworthy, then I feel as though we'll just be left with what we already have. And without any new interest being made in the genre, even the remainder of MMOs we have currently will slowly dwindle. Now, with this in mind, I would like to urge people to check out one of my other videos if you're left wanting or wondering what to play in the meantime. Bored with what you're playing, unsure of what there is left to do while waiting. In my top 10 most played MMORPGs in 2018 video, I list the 10 most populated MMORPGs if you're interested in playing something with a good player base. Something that won't just up and die on you. Something to hold you over until something perhaps catches your interest. There are great MMORPGs out there. With how little we have to play right now, maybe it's time to boot one up that you haven't played in a while and see why they're as highly rated as they are, yeah? With all of that being said and done, I do think the MMORPG genre has the potential to continue growing, especially with how many people are looking forward to games slated for 2019 releases, and of course, WoW Classic. So hopefully, I will see you all in one of the games I'm playing, one of the private servers I'm enjoying, or on Twitter, if you follow me there and just, want to chat, or remain updated with what I post.